In a world that moves fast and forgets easy, veterans, after they take off their uniforms, coaches, shaping tomorrow's leaders today, volunteers, choosing service over self, everyone has a story, and most of them exist because they kept trying. These are the stories, so they are not forgotten. My name is Bill Lau, and this is Semper Tri, because trying beats quitting. June is PTSD Awareness Month. PTSD affects about 5% of the U.S. population. That's roughly 13 million Americans. Remember, not all wounds are visible. As a veteran, I've learned that many of the battles people fight happen long after the uniform comes off. And PTSD doesn't only affect veterans. It affects first responders, survivors of trauma, and everyday people who've lived through things most of us can't imagine. Sometimes the wounds are hidden behind a smile. Sometimes they are hidden behind a joke. Sometimes they're hidden behind the words, "I'm fine." But carrying that weight doesn't make you weak. Remember, you are loved and tomorrow needs you. If you are struggling, please don't fight it alone. Reach out to a friend. Reach out to family. Reach out to another veteran. Reach out to a professional. There are people who care about you. There are people who want to hear your story. There are people who would rather listen to your struggles than not have you here tomorrow. And for those of us on the outside, let's check in on our people. Send that text, make that phone call, invite them for lunch, invite them for coffee, or a round of golf, or just a conversation. You never know what someone may be carrying. One of the reasons I started Semper Tri was because I believe stories matter. When people share those stories, they realize they are not alone. And sometimes hearing someone else's journey gives us the strength to keep going through our own. If you are in crisis, call or text 988. Veterans can press 1 to reach the Veterans Crisis Line. Remember, stay, keep trying. Your story isn't over. Tomorrow needs you. Welcome back to Semper Tri Podcast. I'm your host, Bill Lau. This is going to be episode 28, part 2. In part 1, we followed John's journey from growing up in Minnesota to getting a draft number of 26 to earning his Green Beret. In this episode, part 2, John will share his life at Fort Bragg, his shot at making the Army Elite Golden Knight Parachutes team, and how life of service continued long after the uniform came off. So this is episode 28, part 2 with John. Almost a Golden Knight, service beyond the uniform. Let's get into it, because trying beats quitting. So then,
stuff that soldiers do.
Right. So that'll be the question, and that's what I get asked
Yeah.
the most when I run into people in the community is, okay, so you, Green Beret, you're on base, you're training.
Mhm.
What's a normal, this is a Monday through Friday kind of thing. You get weekends off.
Pretty much, yeah. We
So
weren't
what's
really doing anything on the
Monday
week.
morning you show up at what time? What's a day look like?
Most of the time, we'd show up probably at 8 o'clock, and a lot of times then we would do PT or physical training before at that time, and then take a shower, and then could go to our duty posts, and whatever the team sergeant wanted us to do, we would do. Sometimes it was we supported rifle qualification course where everybody goes and shoots their rifle annually. Our team got designated to be the cadre to run that. So then you'd be assigned something like I was assigned with another guy that we had to, because there was Fort Bragg had all these what you call them tank paths or trails around the ranges and stuff, and you'd have to block some of them off sometimes. So we got selected to take a Jeep and go down to the end of this trail so nobody could drive past the range and while they're shooting. That was one detail. A lot of times it's just you mow grass even. Depends. I'm not sure there was a real typical day after you did PT. Then we were done most of the time by 5 o'clock. And my first year or so, I lived on base in the barracks. And then after that, I lived in off-post housing with a couple of guys. We would share a house around the Fayetteville area. And then eventually I actually moved out to Southern Pines, which was on the west edge of Fort Bragg. And hung out there, and they come into the to the fort every morning and left at the end of the day. And
Okay. So what rank did you have to be before they'd let you move off base, or
you could be Spec 4, E4.
okay.
Yeah.
So
At that time, I was an E5
okay. So how long did it
sergeant.
take you to reach E5?
2 years, a little
Wow.
bit less than 2 years.
Okay. Okay. So then how long were you in total?
I actually served 39 months active duty,
Okay.
which is kind of an odd thing, which has a kind of an interesting story, I suppose. I put in orders or requests to go to the first Special Forces group that was stationed at Okinawa. And in order to do an overseas assignment, I needed 12 months left in service, and I only had 9. So I extended for those 3 months to complete the assignment requirement. Well, so then I came down on orders to Okinawa, made the extension, getting ready to leave. I hadn't gotten my actual orders to transfer yet, but before I could even do that, the Army decided to close the first group down, so I never left. So then I actually had a couple people in my unit that had left Fort Bragg and were in transit to California to go over from Oakland, California, over to Okinawa, and they got caught up and their orders were canceled.
Oh
And
wow.
fortunately, they were able to go back to the 7th group and back to their original spots that they were in, their slots. So I never got to leave, but I figured, well, somebody said, well, you could cancel that 3 months. It's like, well, what difference does it make? I'll just stay 3 more months. That's 3 more months of a salary. Because that time I decided I was gonna stay in North Carolina. I was gonna get out and stay in North Carolina and go to school, and ended up also joining the National Guard unit in the town of Southern Pines. But
Okay.
that's another story.
Well, we got time for other
Well,
stories.
I mean, I think another interesting thing that I did was while I was going through training group, I had a friend who was a skydiver. And at that time, Fort Bragg had 3 parachute clubs. They had the Green Beret Club, the 82nd Club, and the 18th Airborne Corps Club. My friend was a skydiver in the civilian life from Indianapolis. He grew up in Speedway. And he talked me into learning how to skydive and start skydiving.
Versus just jumping out of a plane on a
Yeah. So,
okay.
and then and it's more or less a civilian. But we were, I trained at the Green Beret Club, and then we used to go on Saturdays out to one of the drop zones at Fort Bragg, and Army helicopter pilots would fly a helicopter out for us, and we'd jump out of helicopters. It didn't cost us anything. It was kind of neat too, because one, it didn't cost much or anything, and the pilots got their hours. They liked flying us, and it was pretty easy, and it was fun. And so I got into skydiving. Then an opportunity came up where the Army parachute team called the Golden Knights were going to hold tryouts for new people to add some more people to their team. So I put a requisition in and got accepted to the team tryouts. So then this was November of 73. So I had maybe 150 jumps experience, and then got the 50 jumps with the Golden Knights tryouts. One way or the other, I didn't get selected, but
Tryouts are 50 jumps.
yeah, we'd try. Yeah.
Wow.
It was, I don't know, maybe a 3-week or a 2-week period. I don't remember the length of the tryout, but yeah, we would, we were jumping out at a remote airfield about 45 minutes away from Fort Bragg. And they'd usually have a bunch of guys would go up in the airplane and then jump out and do their different things. And then the rest of us would drive a military bus or a truck, I don't remember what it was, out to this airfield that we were jumping from. And then the airplane would land, and then then the next people would get in it. So we'd end up doing maybe, depending on the time and the weather, 3 jumps a day or 4 jumps a day. I don't think we did more than 4.
Were you repacking your own?
Yeah, you pack your own parachute. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
And then the friend of mine that got me into skydiving, he had gotten, I'll call it a direct appointment to the Army parachute team due to an accident that caused loss of life of a few of the current Golden Knights. So him and 2 other guys got picked, one from each parachute club, and got pointed there. So it was kind of fun having a friend in there and kind of get a little bit of inside knowledge, but it still comes down to your attitude and performance. And so
That's
that
going to
was
be
fun.
heartbreaking not to make that, though.
Well, yes, a lot of things make you a better person when you
Right.
feel a little bit of
Well-
failure, but yeah. But it was a great experience to do that.
So how many people, like you said, you made 50 jumps or whatever for this, how many people were in that
There
rotation
was
trying out?
There was around 25 of us.
Okay, and how many probably made it?
They only took 5.
Oh, wow.
Somebody afterwards told me that I was in the top 10, but I didn't make the top 5.
Number 6.
Maybe.
Maybe.
Who knows?
They can tell you whatever they want.
Well, yes, they can. And
Yeah.
it's like, well, okay. And,
Yeah.
it's like everything, you just move on to the next assignment.
So, like, what were you doing special, like, during these tryouts? I mean,
Well,
because the Golden Knights now,
Well, the Golden Knights at that time had 4 standard events. The first one was what they called the baton pass. That involved 2 people jumping out and then coming together and then separating and opening up their parachutes and landing. Then they had 2 guys do what they call the diamond, and they would exit very close to the same time, and they would go out directly away from the airplane to a certain altitude, and then turn around and come screaming at each other, and then just pass by each other and then open up their parachutes. Then they had the next event was the parachute cutaway, where that jumper had 3 parachutes on him, and he would come down to a certain altitude, and you'd open up one parachute, and then he would make it streamer, so it looked like his parachute failed. Then he would cut it away, and he'd open up a good parachute, and he would land on the ground.
okay.
And then the final event was what they called the diamond formation. That was 4 people going out and then flying into a diamond, and they'd have all of the events as you were flying. You'd have smoke grenades strapped to your feet, and you'd pop them, and then so the audience
Right.
could see what you were doing.
Okay.
And so that was the normal routine. So yeah, it was like 10 people on one of those deals, and they would just do them once per day. And so then at that time, they had what they called the black team and the gold team. So they could go to 2 different locations. They had their own aircraft. So that's what we did during our tryouts. Was we spent so many jumps at each of those events, working on them and practicing them. Yeah.
Crazy.
It was kind of
So, like, you
crazy. It
were
was fun.
reservist?
No, I was still active duty.
Okay.
Yeah, I was still active duty. So I was put on temporary duty assignment to go to the tryouts, which was right at Fort Bragg, so it wasn't very far to go. I mean, yeah.
So then 39 months, you get out, you decided to stay in North Carolina? you said?
Yes, I was
Okay.
going to go to a community college there. They had an interesting civil engineering program that my friends had completed, or a couple of my friends had completed. And so I was thinking of doing that. And then I had a number of acquaintances in the area that were in the National Guard unit. It was an armor unit. It was the C Company of the 2nd of the 252nd Armor. So then a couple of days after I got out, I went over there and enlisted into the Guard unit, and then went to a couple Guard meetings, and then found out that the current full-time Guard person, which they call the AST, was leaving, and they were looking for a new AST. Well, then I put my name in the hat for that and ended up getting selected. And so then I worked about a year plus as the full-time Guard in that unit, the AST. And
So you left active duty to go right back to active duty?
sort of, yeah. But and then so that sort of ended up putting the kibosh on me going to school. But I think I ended up getting 1/4 in, and
So what did you do in the Guard then when you got in?
well, it was an armor unit, so I started out with my rank. I was at E5, so I started out as a gunner, although I don't think I really got to shoot the cannon very much. But then eventually I made staff sergeant, so then I was a tank commander, and then because I was I was the tank commander of the captain's tank. So when he wasn't in it, then I was the commander of that tank. And
Okay.
we did some exercise around Fort Bragg, but we had M48 tanks at Fort Bragg, and we'd use those. And then we actually went down to Fort Hood, Texas for our summer camp in July of '76 and did 2 weeks down there. And we had M60A1s, which
Okay.
was at that time that one new modern tank. So we were a round out battalion for the 1st Cavalry Division.
Okay.
So we wore 1st Cavalry patch on our left sleeves of our uniform. And at that time, the 1st Cav was wearing black berets. So we were wearing a black beret, and they also were wearing black leather belts with a big brass oval US on them. So we were wearing them. So we looked kind of different than the average soldier, but
Okay. This was all with the Guard unit.
Guard
How long
unit.
did you do the Guard unit then? Or?
About 1.5 years. And then I decided that I wanted to move back to Minnesota and pursue my engineering career. So then I was able to leave the Guard because I had my enough active duty time in and
Okay.
moved back to Minnesota.
Did you move back to Minnesota?
I actually moved back to Northeast Minneapolis, living with at my folks' house for a while. Went to the U of M, got an engineering degree, and
didn't do any National Guard or nothing around here?
No, I thought about it, but never really pursued it.
So then after, how long did you go to school?
Well, I did a couple different things. I went to a technical school first and learned the tool and die making trade, and then worked as a tool and die maker for a couple years. And then while I was working, I took a couple of classes, night extension through the U, and then eventually went back to the U full time. I think I went for almost 3 years, got my bachelor's degree in mechanical engineering, and then started a job at Honeywell International with in their avionics division. Worked that for a while, and then ended up working for Honeywell, which eventually got spun off, became Alliant Tech System, worked on the 120 tank ammunition program. I got involved in advanced kinetic energy round, and then eventually into the advanced heat round that had the airburst capability on it, helped type classify that round. And then
where's Honeywell located at?
Well, there's a couple plants still in the Minneapolis area. One they have in it's over by Minneapolis along St. Anthony Village. Then they have that Golden Valley plant.
Okay.
But their headquarters, I think, is in Morristown, New Jersey. I think. I'm not sure now. But
so how long do you work for them?
I think it was 11 years. And then I got caught in a downturn of ordnance and ammunition, and
so this was in the mid 80s.
Yeah, no, early 90s. I got laid off,
okay.
And then
what'd you do after that then? Or?
I found some different engineering companies to work for, and ended up working for one called. It was more of a service company called Kennametal Full Service Supply, which morphed into Wolseley Industrial Engineering. So I spent like 20 years with them, and then retired and moved up to the Brainerd Lakes area.
So you retired, and then you're like going to Brainerd.
Yep.
So when was this?
We moved up here full time in spring of 2018.
Okay, sorry. When did you move to Brainerd?
Spring of 2018. We moved up
so
here.
Not that long ago.
No.
Oh,
no.
So you just retired recently.
I think now we're on our.
So did you
8th year? Yeah.
Did you join a Legion before
Yes.
Brainerd? Or?
I joined the Legion, I think in 2003, and I was in the Tri-Cities Legion, which was made up of St. Anthony, I think Columbia Heights, and New Brighton.
Okay.
That was the closest post. I wasn't very active. I went to the post a couple times for, beverage and dinner, but I was not in any sort of active role. I don't think I even ever went to a monthly meeting. And then around maybe it was 2016, that post is part of the 10th district. It kind of was getting close to being closed. So they tried to, a couple of leaders in the 10th district tried to reactivate it. And I got invited to go to a meeting, and I probably felt at that time I had the time and the interest to maybe pursue more involvement in the American Legion. So I was going to those meetings to try to see what we could do to make that post a viable post again. And I actually kind of considered possibly running as the adjutant for that post. Well, then that all stretched out. And then when we moved up here, I knew there was a post here because my brother-in-law who lived next door was a member of Post 255. So I found out what it took to transfer and went over to the post and met one of the guys and transferred my membership. And then I started going to meetings, and it's like, well, who are you? Well, I'm John P. I just moved up here and getting involved in the Legion. Then the next year, so that was like 18. So then like 2019, I ran sergeant at arms. And then I got elected to that. Of course, I think I ran unopposed like most positions in our Legion is.
Hard fought race.
Yes. Yeah. I had spent $0 on campaigning. So then I did that. And at that time, that was Steve Ides' term as commander, and Dan Holmes was the adjutant, and he and I seemed to strike up a friendship. And with my previous experience of secretary, I would sometimes take notes for him when he could make the meeting. And then he and I both volunteered to modernize or computerize the membership. So we took that over from Tom and Swanson and his crew, and Jerry Strobel helped out some. Yep. And we computerized that. So now I'm in my, I'll just say my 6th year of doing membership.
Oh, it's been that long already.
And then after the 2 years, I became then the adjutant. And now I'll be starting my 7th year at the end of May. Been involved. And then I got involved in the Color Guard.
When did you join the Honor Guard?
I joined the Honor Guard, Color Guard in latter part of 19.
Okay.
Remember when they dedicated the mural on the side of the...
Yep.
That's where I saw the Color Guard and introduced myself.
That long ago.
Yeah, introduced myself and became a member of the Color Guard with, Fran Beerwood. And so then eventually at a meeting, they made me the sergeant major of the Color Guard.
Okay.
The leader, I guess you want to call it. And that was kind of your buddies, Getty and Holloway were behind that.
Oh,
but
good fun.
It's good. So, but yeah, it's fair. Okay. Well, the Color Guard, Honor Guard is very fulfilling.
Oh, it's amazing.
We probably have in the neighborhood of 40 military funerals we do a year, and almost 40 what I call civic events where Camp Confidence for an event wants us to present the colors. So we go present the colors, they play the national anthem, and then we leave. We do that for
Did you do that for Lakes Jam last year too?
Yes, we've been doing Lakes Jam for, I think, 3 or 4 years now, and we were invited back for Friday to present the colors. And when you're at an event like that, and you're standing up there, and you're looking out, and you're seeing thousands of people cheering when you're doing the national anthems playing, it's just unbelievable. It is one of the coolest sensations, feelings there is to look out over that, see all of the patriots out there.
Yeah. So then just like with the honor guard too, like, so with the funeral, I mean, you do the flags and you do the 3-gun volley, right?
Yes. Yeah. And most of the time there's 2 service members from the veterans branch of service, and they handle the flags and then present the flag to the next of kin.
So that's how you decide that, by what service they were in?
Yes.
Okay.
And we occasionally have to fold the flag and present the flags, but most of the time the representatives of his branch do the flag.
Oh, so that isn't part of the honor guard that do the flag?
Well, that's all combined, but it's a different organization. We're working together. We usually come with our flags, and we have the American flag there, and service organization flags, and the POW flag, and then we do the rifle volley and play the taps, and then say if this man was an Army veteran, usually it's 2 guys from the National Guard honor guard group that comes to the funeral and handles the flag, and then we'll refold the flag and hand it to the next of kin.
Yeah, I've done, so when I was in a Marine Reserve unit my last years, and I had we did as the reserves units, we did the honor guard and the 3-gun salute. And that was always the worst, was being there and holding the flag and carrying the casket, and because you were just right there hearing the stories of this person, and just it was so much better to be away, so you didn't get that emotional attachment being there with the family. But it's such an honor. I mean,
it is.
I look forward to that when I retire. Just no time right now, obviously.
I understand.
So I respect you guys so much that do
One
that.
of we had when I was in the service, I was still on active duty at Fort Bragg, and he had an acquaintance die, and a bunch of us went to his funeral service, and 2 of us were in our Army Greens, and he was a Air Force veteran. And the funeral director went to the other guy in uniform and asked him if he'd present the flag, and this guy says, "Oh, I'm the suspect 5, go talk to the sergeant." So that was me, and this funeral director said, "Would you present the flag?" And I said yes, not really knowing what to say or actually really how to do it, but it was an extremely difficult thing, because especially when you're close, you know somebody, and it's really the first time you've ever done that. I was shaking. Yeah.
I don't think it would get any ever.
I think some of the guys that have done it quite a bit say that being more or less detached from that people, it's easier to do it, but it's still emotional.
You got to tune out what's being said realistically to halfway do it. Whatever.
I am Bill Lau from Today in Military History and the host of Semper Tri podcast. Today, I don't want to just talk about the battles from history. I want to talk about the battles happening right now for far too many veterans, service members, and everyday people. Mental health matters. A lot of people are fighting battles nobody else can see. Some from war, some from loss, some from life itself. And too many people are carrying that weight alone. I know what it's like to push things down, stay busy, joke around, and just keep moving forward. A lot of us were taught to do exactly that, but eventually silence gets heavy. So today, check on your people, call your friends, talk to somebody. And if you're struggling yourself, please stay. The world is better with you in it. You are not weak for speaking up. You are not weak for asking for help. You are not weak for needing somebody. If you need help, call or text 988, the National Suicide and Crisis Lifeline. There are people ready to listen, people who care, people who want you here tomorrow.